They were faceless, silent, and unnamed, sworn to a life of anonymity, justice, and unwavering duty. The Jedi Temple Guards weren't Jedi Knights or generals in the Clone Wars. They didn't lead armies or sit on the Jedi Council, and yet, when the sacred halls of the Jedi Temple needed protection, it was the golden-robed Sentinels who stood watch. Welcome to Star Wars Academy. Today we're diving into the background of the Jedi Temple Guards. Who were they, what did they protect, and how did one of them in particular fall to the dark side and become the very thing that they swore to destroy? The Jedi Temple Guards were a specialized class within the Jedi Order, not a separate rank, but rather a duty taken on by Jedi Knights who had been chosen for one of the Order's most sacred and solemn tasks, the protection of the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. While the exact origins of the Temple Guard tradition are not very well known, we do know it was firmly in place between the years of 5000 and 1032 BBY during the Sith Wars. We know this because there was a Temple Guard helmet on the planet Malachor, one that was picked up by a blinded Kanan Jarrus. Though it is likely that the Order existed far earlier than those years and held a more combative role during galactic wars rather than just a symbolic role stationed on the Jedi Temple. Unlike the flashy warriors of the Clone Wars, the Temple Guards weren't meant for the battlefield. Their role was more inward, meant to defend the spiritual heart of the Jedi, its temple and its archives, along with all of its sacred rituals. They were a part of the Jedi security branch, but they operated with authority that could override any Jedi's word within the temple's boundaries. That authority included confronting and even detaining members of the Order who violated Jedi law, or if necessary, making sure a certain little green Jedi doesn't leave his bed. Their job wasn't glamorous, but it was sacred. A Jedi Temple Guard's duties were as varied as they were critical. Most obviously, they protected restricted areas of the temple, such as the Holocron Vault, the Council Chambers, and the Jedi Archive's forbidden sections. They also served as security during sensitive events, such as knighting ceremonies, Padawan trials, or internal tribunals. In the Clone Wars arc involving Ahsoka Tano's wrongful accusation, the Temple Guards oversaw her tribunal and even played a part in capturing the rogue Barriss Offee. Their training was intense. While already Jedi Knights having passed the trials of knighthood, those chosen to serve as Temple Guards underwent further discipline, particularly in meditation, restraint, and martial readiness. They had to abandon personal ambition, emotion, and even identity. The guards were some of the most skilled combatants of the Jedi Order, handpicked by the Jedi Battlemaster who themselves served as head of security for the Jedi Temple. This means that any Jedi Temple Guards selected for their role during the time of the Clone Wars or the final decades of the Republic were hand-selected by none other than Sin Dralig. Their training was also conducted directly by the Battlemaster, helping them wield the tools necessary for defending the core of the Jedi. Everything about the Jedi Temple Guards was done to ensure total impartiality. They didn't go by name, rank, or lineage while on duty, and their faces and voices remained concealed behind uniform robes and golden white masks. The Jedi Temple Guards were in essence the embodiment of the Jedi Code, not compassion or leadership, but duty and order. The appearance of a Jedi Temple Guard is unforgettable. Draped in flowing gold and cream robes, they wore ornate ceremonial masks that completely hid their faces. These masks were stylized to represent ancient Jedi iconography, expressions of solemnity and vigilance. By concealing their identity, guards became symbols of the Order itself. Their individuality was set aside for a higher calling of guardianship. Their presence wasn't meant to inspire comfort, it was meant to command respect, and in fact, instill a sense of fear. But perhaps most iconic of all was their weapon. Each Jedi Temple Guard carried a yellow double-bladed lightsaber commonly referred to as a lightsaber pike, but also carried a collapsible variation of this tool which was more of a saber staff. The yellow blade was rarely seen among Jedi and came to be associated with those who upheld justice and balance, most commonly seen in Jedi Sentinels. The lightsaber pike was not just a weapon, it was a statement. Its long hilt and twin blades were ideal for crowd control, defensive fighting, and holding position. It also emphasized the guard's role as a bastion rather than a duelist. However, if forced into combat, Jedi Temple Guards were merciless warriors specializing in Form 6 of lightsaber combat. The Jedi Temple Guards make their most prominent appearance in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, particularly during the final episodes of Ahsoka Tano's time with the Jedi Order. When accused of bombing the Jedi Temple, Ahsoka stood trial before the Jedi Council. The Jedi Temple Guards stood in judgment not as individuals but enforcers of the Council's ruling, silent, neutral, and absolute. They escorted her out of the chamber, and later, when she was cleared, they were there again, looming as a haunting presence. But perhaps the most fascinating connection to the Temple Guards is a dark one: the Grand Inquisitor, the lead agent of the Empire's Jedi hunting Inquisitorius. He was once a Jedi Temple Guard, though we never learn his real name, but his path from anonymous Sentinel to Darkside Enforcer is one of the most chilling examples of how even the most disciplined Jedi could fall prey to the dark side of the Force. It's implied that his disillusionment began with Ahsoka's trial, the Temple's cold decision to exile her, and its eventual retraction, revealing a hypocrisy that he could no longer tolerate. That seed of doubt was all the dark side needed to supplant itself in his mind, allowing him to readily turn against his comrades during the Purge of the Jedi. The Jedi Temple Guards were living paradoxes. They were in essence warrior monks in a peacekeeping order. They enforced justice but had no face to show compassion. They served the light, but at least one of their number fell as a shadow. Their philosophy was centered around selflessness, neutrality, and silence, yet their silence during moments of moral crisis like Ahsoka's trial may have contributed to the very downfall they hoped to prevent. When Order 66 came, we know not what became of the remaining Jedi Temple Guards. Most likely they died defending the temple when Anakin Skywalker led the 501st Legion into its halls, or perhaps some survived, their identities lost, with their purposes shattered. But their legacy lives on, not just in stories, but in symbolism. The Jedi Temple Guards stood as reminders that even within an order dedicated to peace, there must be those willing to uphold the law, to make the hard decisions, and to guard what matters most, even when that means becoming invisible. But in the end, did the Temple Guards end up failing the Jedi Order? Or were they simply victims of its collapse? Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this dive into Jedi Temple Guards, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more videos on Star Wars lore, right here at Star Wars Academy. Until next time, may the Force be with you.